Hey guys, Brox here, doing a update video on the Forge Guard Shield Throw Void Smiter that I had released just a couple days ago. A lot has changed in about 24 hours. Some new tech was revealed, and we'll go over that as well. And then obviously showing the build to thousands of people has garnered some feedback, which I've taken and looked at and then adjusted for. And then there's been some really big discussions about volatile reversal news that dropped, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that in this video as well. So if you're a volatile reversal fan, stick around. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. But there's been some adjustments to the build, so many major adjustments that I felt it did warrant an update video because we've more than doubled our flat damage, doubled our crit multi, and made our effective HP significantly higher with these changes. And I was updating the original video in the description and in the comments with these changes, but it got to the point that I was getting so many comments of people missing those changes and not checking the new planner that I felt just doing a new video with a quick update, so for anybody considering playing this build, that they don't leave damage on the table and they don't leave defense on the table. So what has changed since the original video? Well, you can probably tell immediately that a couple things have changed, but the first major thing that we did was on and there's going to be some variants. So I may actually not be playing the Smite version of this anymore. The Smite version is still playable. There's nothing wrong with it. There is just potentially a better option that I'm considering taking advantage of, but I will go over the multiple variants of the build in case one of you guys wants to play one of the many different variants that you can play, but I'll go over all of those as well in this video. So in the Smite variant, I'm going to call them variants. In the Smite variant, we changed the 2 points from Pillars of Light. This is my mistake. Again, guys, it's been a year since I've played Last Epoch. I'm remembering how things work. I didn't read the description again here. I just remember double cast chance. I see double cast chance. I remember how Smite works, that it has a chance to double cast. What I overlooked was that it's directly casting Smite. And since we're not directly casting Smite, we can't actually take advantage of this node. So 2 people in the comments who I want to point out in the last video pointed out that this won't work, and to adjust the points to blinding flash so that we get the more damage, the 20% more damage blind chance, which was absolutely the right play. So I made that adjustment here. I also pulled a point out of it and put it into the base critical strike chance, which we had talked about in the original video. So that does cap out all these nodes on this side of the tree to get Smite closer to that 100% crit chance. So that was the first major change. Then there was some discussion on this build cycle about crit multi versus void pen. So when you look at Dreamthorn, there is, for crit multiplier, you can get 80% additional crit multi if you get the second T2 slam. And for anybody who doesn't know, I always put T5 on the second slam because you can guarantee the T7 now, but you're likely, like, if you get a good T7, you're only going to get to about T5 on your secondary affixes. So I do everything at a T5 for the secondary 2LP slam affixes just because it's more realistic. But you have the option to do 80% crit strike multiplier, or you can do void penetration. So void penetration would be 22% more void penetration to go on to the 40% void penetration. And that was in question of which is more valuable. Is 22% void penetration better than 80% crit multiplier? There is some back and forth on this. It seems to be very close, so you can't go wrong. If you find a T7 critical strike chance with void penetration, don't freak out because, you know, crit multi's on the sheet. You can absolutely get lucky and slam void penetration. Now, if you get a T7 critical strike chance with crit multiplier and void penetration on an item, you may want to save that for a 3 LP variant of Dreamthorn, which is a 1 in 345 chance. It's doable. It's going to be rare. If you're playing the Auction House faction, I think it's like MG, if you're playing the MG faction, Merchant Guild, then you can just buy a 3LP Dreamthorn and then attempt to slam that T7 with both the crit multiplier and the void penetration. That's going to give you the absolute best benefit here. So just wanted to point out that void penetration is not a bad alternative, and if you have a 3LP variant, that's the stat you want to try to aim for on the 3LP variant. So that was another notation from the notes. We changed the belt. We had Thornslinger here, but in review, it was better to pull the resistances off the rings and consolidate them onto the belt. That freed up our rings to cover endurance so that we can actually cap out our endurance on the max side. So we have the ability to cap out endurance or get close to cap on endurance. And that way we get more of that static effective HP. So you'll see the effective HP down here is 36,000. I think in the original video it's like 28,000. So it's a considerable jump in effective HP having the ability to cap out endurance. So that was another one where if you can get it, we want to cap out endurance here. So we made that adjustment to the belt. We also can add, because we're not locked to just 2 affixes on Thornslinger, we can pick up the extra void damage for 60%, and we can pick up cooldown recovery speed, which is just 2 really great stats to add to the build. So changing the belt was the right play, gives us more effective HP, kind of frees us up to do some other things across the board statistically. Alright, then we reworked the Healing Hands skill tree. So if we go over to Healing Hands, I moved the 2 points from Cleric's Hammer to the Smite side, only just to avoid any issues with the negatives here. So I didn't want to have the negative components of this node, so I just moved those 2 points over here. And then we picked up a portion of Healing Hands remaining cooldown is recovered if you heal an ally, since we would now be healing Ring of Shields when we moved. This would help recharge the cooldown on Healing Hands from converting it. So the 6-second cooldown would get reduced when we move because we're going to be healing our Ring of Shields. So that was the right play there to actually adjust for that as well. I also changed the 2 points here because all it was providing was just a little bit of healing effectiveness to come down this side of the tree. It's just some minor changes, some optimizations to make Healing Hands a little bit better from a crafting standpoint or from a setup standpoint. Then I changed the gloves. So instead of having the other gloves, I picked up Lyraka's Claws. We kept throwing attack and throwing damage for our 2 LP. It's a 1 in 20, so it's not that hard to get this as a 2 LP either. But this gives us 100 upwards of 130% throwing critical strike multiplier. So again, huge increase in damage for a little bit of loss in our effective HP, because the other gloves would give us dot mitigation and armor, which it sucks to lose, but in reality picking up 130% throwing critical strike multiplier is just the right play. It's a ton of extra damage. So we did swap out the gloves. The next change was I reworked the idols. So I moved the idols around where we can pick up smaller idols here. For the adjusted idols, I added increased health, and the bonus for this one isn't exactly the critical strike reduction, it's the extra critical strike chance on both of these so that we can keep our critical strike over that 100% mark. But I converted that extra space to pick up damage reflected to attackers, which we're going to talk about here in a second. This was discovered by Pitching Loaf, so I'll go over how his tech worked, but I'll also adjust for our current version. These actually are still a little wrong. This should actually be, I'll actually do it live. This should actually be void penetration, and I'll go over that in a second. This was actually a change made later last night, so I hadn't gone back and adjusted for this one, but this should actually be void penetration. So the additional 3 here are void pen and damage reflected to attackers. I'll go over all this in a moment in the next variant because it's more prevalent of what's going on in the next variant. Then we reworked the Ring of Shields skill tree. So if we jump over here, we reworked the Ring of Shields skill tree. We optimized to pick up an extra 38% of crit multi and a ton of extra effective HP by moving our points to grab sturdy shields, which increases our block effectiveness on heal by plus 50%, which is going to be converted to crit multiplier. And then we're going to pick up an extra armor on heal, and this happens every 6 seconds with a 4-second buff, which means there's only a 2-second downtime between these two things always being online and always being active. Then we removed 2 points on the Forge Guard tree. So let me show you. We actually adjusted the Forge Guard tree quite a bit. So we removed the points from Iron Reflexes and Crusader, and we also removed the points from Smelter's Might, and we adjusted to put those points into Thornmail. This is to pick up the damage taken by attackers, 7 out of 8. Adjusted 2 additional points into Might to pick up the other percentage of health to help our effective HP. But the change to Thornmail is a really big one because this is going to give us close to 100 flat extra damage on our shield throw, which is a ton of extra flat damage, and is also why we're picking up the damage reflected to attackers on the idols. And you'll see when we look at this, we have about 1,000 97, so this will be 110 flat extra damage that we're picking up. And the reason this is happening, Pitching Loaf discovered this tech, which is the shield here is converting that damage reflected to attackers per 10 to plus flat throwing damage. So we just literally moved the decimal point over, and this would be 110 extra flat damage that would happen on our shield throw. So it's going to be a considerable damage increase when you look at our offensive damage, right? So 181 becomes 281. So that's where we're picking up a ton of extra damage. And you'll see the crit multi, which you can't also see from what we just talked about with the Ring of Shields boost. This is going to jump significantly. So you see it as 436, but it's actually probably closer to 500 for the crit multi jump, because Ring of Shields now will give us a 50% boost of our block effectiveness, which is going to be converted into additional crit multi. So a lot of extra damage there. And then variants. Okay, so this one is still fine. I want to just explain. There's nothing wrong with the Smite version of the build. This is completely workable. So if you like Smite and you want to play it as it sits, this build is perfectly functional. And I'll put all these variants in the description. But there's 3 other variants, and I'll show you kind of what they look like. And then I'll go over the Shield Bash one specifically. So there's a Shield Bash variant, which I'll go over in more detail. There's a Volatile Reversal variant, and there's a Devouring Orb variant. So the Devouring Orb variant has a big question mark from me about it, because of how the Devouring Orbs will proc themselves is based on you moving. So you have to constantly be moving to generate new Devouring Orbs. And they have a mana cost of 7, and I don't know how fast while moving that they would proc, and because there's some adjustments in there for cooldown recovery speed. So if it's proccing constantly, my fear is it will actually run you out of mana. So it will actually take some playtesting to kind of see, like, can it self-sustain itself? And if it can self-sustain itself, then the benefit of using Devouring Orb is picking up the 10% more void damage node, which is just a multiplicative of more damage, and then just having those void orbs circle you and orbit you as you move around the map. So it'll be like kind of an extra Ring of Shields effect around you, just having Devouring Orbs around you that generate 10% more void damage. So that's the benefit here. I think it can work. The math behind it seems to point to that it won't drain you of mana, but I can't confirm that without actually playing it. But this is what the tree would look like for the Devouring Orb if you wanted to take a look at it yourself. And the only benefit I can really tell from this is Devouring Orb will do a little bit of damage, but it's really getting that extra 10% more damage in the future. Alright, Shield Bash variant. I'm actually going to go, I have a whole build planner for this. So the Shield Bash variant is quite a bit different in regards to idols that have changed. So you'll see we don't use Smite anymore, so we don't need the Smite idols, and we've just converted all of these into Void Penetration and damage reflected to attackers. So the majority of these are going to be those Void Penetration and damage reflected to attackers, outside of 3 of them, which are these 3 on this side, which stay critical strike chance. So the critical strike chance here is to keep us again over that 100% cap that we need to be at. So we have to sacrifice 3 of these to be critical strike chance. It's a loss of plus 45 flat damage. So it's a considerable loss, but it's really important to keep us over the 100% critical strike chance for shield throw. But then the rest of them is picking up void penetration. Now, if you have all of the void penetration here, and you picked up the plus 22 void penetration on Dreamthorn, you would be over a 100% void penetration. That's how much void pen we would have on this build now. So a ton of extra void penetration. You'll also notate that we are picking up 2,736 damage reflected to attackers. Again, move the decimal over. We would be picking up about 275 extra flat damage. So when we look at that from a throwing perspective, we're going to have almost plus 400 flat damage before we have shield throws more hit damage multiplier from our block chance conversion happening on this side as well. Now, the other additional benefits of why are we doing Shield Bash. So where is Shield Bash coming in? Shield Bash is not a void skill. What is Shield Bash offering us? Well, Shield Bash actually offers us a lot, because on top of our Ring of Shields, our Symbols of Hope, our haste conversion, adding to our block chance, so all that extra stacking of block chance that's going to happen from all of that, Shield Bash as well offers a block chance and block effectiveness increase. So it gives us another 15% conversion for that 150% to convert this over to I think it's like 37.5% more damage, and then block chance will give us another 12% roughly more critical strike multi. So this one node gives us a ton of extra damage, and in my opinion, obviously it gives us more than Devouring Orb, which only gives us 10% more. This one node will give us a considerable amount of more damage. But it also gives us rebounding, which makes our next shield throw ricochet 5 additional times. So as you move around, you can dash with Healing Hands, or use Healing Hands as your traversal skills to move forward, shield bash once, and then your next shield throw is going to ricochet 11 times. 11. So it's a ton of extra ricochets that you can just throw into a group of enemies and just wipe them out, like potentially just screen clear them out, dash again, shield bash, throw shield, get another shield that ricochets 11 times. It's just an absurd combo right here for shield throw. Then we have Wall of Shields. So this is a question mark for me. I know visually how this works is it makes the shields like a wall behind your character, and I don't know if it's going to be better or worse than the shields orbiting you, when in consideration in my brain is for fighting a boss. If I make a shield wall and I ping pong a shield, I want that shield to ricochet as many times as humanly possible. So if we have 7 Ring of Shields, we have the potential for it to ricochet, 7 times off each of those shields. Now, if I get really close with Ring of Shields, the Ring of Shields are quite condensed around my character model. So when I throw the shield, it should ping pong off of them fairly easily and hit the boss again. But I don't know if having them as a wall will actually make that easier or worse. So this node is a question mark of being like, will it make it easier for the shield to ping pong through the Ring of Shields and re-hit the boss, or will it just functionally not work? If it doesn't work, then obviously we don't want to keep this point in Wall of Shields. You can just toss it on Broaden Shield if you want. But if it does make it more consistently usable to ping pong the shields off of Ring of Shields, then absolutely take it just to boss clear. It will make it a lot easier to boss clear with it. So this is a question mark node. It'll have to require some testing. Shield Bash reduced armor. So when you hit, you get +3 stacks of armor shred. It also reduces the mana cost, making it cost 0. However, that's about to change. And then we're removing the cooldown. So this is an 18-second cooldown, but we want to be able to do this all the time. So we want to be able to Healing Hands, Shield Bash, hit 11 times with 11 ricochets, Healing Hands, Shield Bash, hit 11 times with ricochets as we move to clear out a map, right? So we want to just be moving and doing this combo, Healing Hands, Shield Bash, Shield Throw, Healing Hands, Shield Bash, Shield Throw at our own pace. I don't want to wait 18 seconds to make the combo work. So removing the cooldown here, but it does bring about a +9 mana cost. So this will have a mana cost, but our Healing Hands and our Shield Throw doesn't. So we should be fine. Like there shouldn't be too much issue when it comes to mana, because we also have a base mana regeneration of 8. So we shouldn't be losing mana over this combo with it being at 9 mana cost. It's not that detrimental. And then we're going to pick up attack speed based per 1% of our block chance to a maximum of 50%. This just makes Shield Bash, because we'll have that 50% attack speed, be considerably faster to just use to get the combo going. So we're not going to be losing a lot of time just doing the Shield Bash animation in the combo. So just picking this up is a nice benefit to make the combo feel really smooth. And this is what I am likely going to convert to. I will probably change from Smite to this, because the 275 extra flat damage is insanity, but it does come out of a couple different areas of cost. We lost a considerable amount of block effectiveness, so we did lose effective HP. We also lost quite a bit of armor, so we're down about about, I think it was 5% or 6% on armor mitigation, and we're down about 4% mitigation on block mitigation, which has hurt our effective HP quite a bit. We've lost about 9,000 effective HP, and we've lost about 4,000 dot EHP. So we have taken a considerable hit here on that effective HP. But again, with all the other variances of stacking that we're going to get once we're actually playing the game, this is still like 40,000 effective HP. Like, it's still a ridiculous amount of EHP that we should be fine. Like, it shouldn't really be that detrimental to pick up all the extra damage. So to pick up the extra throwing damage, the 275 flat throwing damage, to pick up the extra crit multi, to pick up all the extra damage, plus having 11 ricochets per throw is just an insane way to just screen clear if you get enough damage to screen clear. So I think this variant to me is the best one so far. It's the one I'm thinking I'm going to like the best because it just makes a really smooth echo clear, which is just dash forward, shield bash once, throw shield, dash forward, shield bash once, throw shield, and just wipe different packs of mobs as we go. So those are the different variants. This is where I'm currently sitting at. This is probably the variant I will be playing, which is the shield bash variant. I will try all of them, of course, as time goes on and we play the actual game. But these are all the changes that have happened. Considerable damage increases, considerable effective HP increases for the Smite version, the original version. So just take all that into account. And if any new tech is discovered between now and launch in the next 2 days, keep an eye out on the description and the comments. I will be updating if I change anything else, especially as I start playing with the Shield Bash version of this. If I find something out or if someone points something out, I will let you guys know. I also want to give a shout out to Private Vlad, who helped me look at a couple different things when it came to flat damage. He was the one who recommended changing the passives to Thornmail. So I just wanted to give him a quick shout out to pick up those extra flat, which then obviously made me consider changing all the nodes to Pitching Loaf style, where we pick up the extra flat damage to make Shield Throw do even more damage. Alright guys, have a good one.